Being in life with a woman who is angry and upset with you, it sucks, doesn't it? It's the worst. So much mental energy and bandwidth goes to processing in your day-to-day life when you could be enjoying it. Instead, you're thinking about, God, what happened? What did I do wrong? What did I say wrong? Or maybe asking yourself these questions. Why is she so annoying? Why is she so mean? If you feel me here, if that's you, let me know, yup, in the comments. Just so that other men can feel the relatability here. One of the biggest ingredients for men to arrive into higher levels of health is being seen, heard, and understood in their experience. So if you feel seen here, let other men see and feel you. I want, by the end of this video, I want you to understand what's actually going on and what to do about it to set yourself free. First of all, we have to understand what's actually going on in her world so that we can orient and make sense of our own world. If we get to the place of saying the words, why is she so mean? Why is she so annoying? What we're actually describing is we've left our window of tolerance, which means we actually don't have capacity to hold space for her emotions. And now we feel hurt as men, and it sucks to be there. We know that. You know this. It drains and leaks into all these other areas of your life. It's like taking the wind out of your sails. It's defeating. It's not enjoyable. So let's do something about that. I want to describe an experience I had today. I go on a lot of podcasts, and today I went on a podcast called Wicked Honest. It's these two badass women in Boston, and they are tough women. You know, when I first got on, before even getting into the conversation, they were like, why did you reach out? We're going to tear you apart. Like, who is this guy? Like, that's the energy they brought. They were pissed and curious and challenging. And you know what I did? Is I looked at them and I said, yeah, I love feeling that in you both. I bring all of you. Bring your fire, your fury. And then they were like, what? They were confused. They were thrown off by it. And they were still ready to challenge and test me. So they started to ask a bit about my life. And then once I started to share a bit about my life, they actually started to feel a resonance. The part where I got a resonance is when I described where I used to be a debt collector and a drug dealer. And I had an experience where a drug dealer held a sawed-off shotgun to my chest and he was jacking rounds out of the gun, threatening to kill me. And I looked at him, I said, do it. The reason I was relatable in that moment that they described was, yeah, that's a familiar environment. We know that environment. We grew up in that. So it's actually a bit relieving. But then it had them curious because I can be described as a powerful man, an inspiring man, but also sensitive. And I think they felt, and they had expressed they felt the sensitivity, which, just to describe, is safety. What happened after that was beautiful. I had no idea where this conversation was going. And the reason I stepped towards it, because they weren't sure, and a part of me was very sure. Whenever I see a situation where there's women who are pissed and angry and upset, I move towards it. There's a reason why I do that. If I'm self-protecting from a woman who is angry and upset, I'm not going to get to know or understand what's actually going on under that. If I don't get to know what's under that, I actually don't get to experience the full expression of my power as a man who could create ingredients of protection, banks, and safety for that woman to actually soften. It is the most enjoyable experience as a man for me to watch a woman soften from all of the defense strategies that she's had to adopt over her lifetime. And one of the terms here that women like, and they when they say it, they love it, is like boss babes. I've been on so many podcasts, all these boss babes, and they love it. And they're living from this mantra of screw men. Men aren't safe. And I've got this myself. Now, if you're a man watching this, you might feel the pain on your side of this of, God, nothing I ever do is good enough. She's just taking care of everything herself. This is so emasculating. how do I show up in the situation that I feel intimidated by? Because in some situations, if you're anything like me, some of the empowered women that I've been in life with, and my wife can be so intimidating in places that I haven't matured the level of masculinity that she's embodying. Anyone felt that one? Type in ouch. Me too. Oh, it sucks. And I've been there. I've been so triggered in my own insecurities and inadequacies that I would collapse in the presence of an empowered woman. And I've been doing years and years of men's work to change that inside of me, to create more capacity, because the more I can show up with presence, the women stop being so upset. Prime example, going back to the podcast today. These women are fierce, dude. Like they were like mean, fierce, strong, and I could see the little girl in both of them, and that's what I pay attention to. And I want you to take note there, if you have a pen and paper, of what I said there. I could see the little girl in both of them. So it was easier for me to move towards them. If I just look at their behaviors, I might have been intimidated. Their words, and they're challenging me, and they're like, oh, we're going to tear you apart, buddy. I may have collapsed in that. But if I look at what's actually truly going on, which is, oh, there's a little girl in there who hasn't experienced the presence of a man, for her to soften all the things that she's gripping onto, hanging onto for dear life, because it was not safe for her to go into those vulnerable places in the presence of another man. Something really interesting happened next in this conversation. From about 10 minutes in on, they both started crying a lot. And all I was doing was just holding presence with them, and they would share their experience. They would ask me a question. I would share a part of my experience. They would get curious and ask, whoa, what you just said moved something in me. I think what one of the women said was, wow, that just rocked me. This is key. I want you to pay attention to this. This is what I'm tracking. When she said that just rocked me, what she's saying is, I just felt energy moving inside of me that's new and different. And I don't know what to do with this. Women are feeling oriented, men. And so I noticed that, and I actually invited the field to slow down. I'm like, can we be with that? And then she was like, wow, and then wanted to speed up and went into her head and told all these stories about, wow, it's not safe. And then I just invited her back. Can we just slow down again? So interesting, like feeling you in that place that rocked you. Tell me more. Keywords there. Tell me more. If a woman feels safe enough to express what she's feeling, she'll stop holding the role of the masculine. What women are actually needing is presence. A lot of you men might be asking, Mike, great, what the hell is presence? Presence is what's left over when we stop performing. If we're in self-protection as men, if we're fighting, defending, listening to what the women are sharing and making it about ourselves, if we can't hold our footing and we're scanning for logic, which we do as men, I do this still, knowing all this. And if she feels me in my logic and tracks my body language, she's going to stay in the masculine, and now we're in a competitive energy. But because I actually just held witness to and mirrored back what I could see in the feminine parts, it actually started to open up. They couldn't even stop it. Their feminine actually started to just take up more space, and they're crying and they didn't want to, but then they were, and they couldn't help it. And then what's interesting, like this gives me chills. What I watched is the more tears that were shed in them being seen, the more her face, like the one woman specifically, both of them, but the one woman who had a big release, she just started smiling and radiating. There was color in her skin. She was just like the sun. But when we first started the episode, dude, like she was like this, like furrowed brow. She was like, screw man, like I'm going to test you, dude. And she did. And I passed the test. The report card was me watching her soften. There's something important that I said there. She felt seen. Women are longing to feel seen in their experience without being fixed. They just want to be welcomed out into their experience so that they can self-process, so they can talk about the hurt and harm that isn't about you. If we don't make it about ourselves, they can actually start to feel themselves. If we don't make it about ourselves, they can start feeling themselves. If they can feel themselves and notice that you're present with them, they will stop being mean. For a lot of men's terms, they will stop being annoying because they will be letting go of all the projections that you represent in their world, which is unsafe man. And then all of a sudden you'll get to know the woman that's behind all of the protection. But first, you have to stop protecting yourself in relationship to this energy in a woman. If you're in an experience, and I've been here lots, that thinks, oh, she's insatiable, she's mean, she's so unappreciative, I feel so disrespected, undervalued, invisible. If you've ever had any of those thoughts, something is getting hit inside of you. If you lose presence, remember what I said, presence is dropping the performance, dropping the doing, the making this certain amount of money. And maybe when I do this, and maybe if I clean the dishes, and maybe if I do all the things, maybe she'll eventually get off my case. It's not doing energy she's looking for. She's looking for emotional safety and presence. So once we stop the performing and actually offer over presence for her to feel herself and express herself, and you just having the capacity to just witness and mirror back, you'll get the best version of her. But what that requires to make this practical is if you can't hold presence and you do make it about yourself, there's no judgment or shame here, bro. It's just honoring what's here and what's available today right now, which is I have past material that's getting triggered in me that I haven't integrated, so I don't have the capacity to hold space for her because I haven't had space held for me. Take that in for a second. See if that just hits something in you. So many men that I've worked with over the years. Before I go into that, if you want to take a quiz that I created to help you discern where you're at in this process of integration, being an initiated man, where you're at in that process, I created a quiz. Go down in the show notes, click on that. It'll probably take 5 minutes and you'll get a scorecard for where you're at. It'll help bring in new awareness. If we have these unintegrated parts, and I know for me, I've had lots. I get triggered by my partner all the time. It's my responsibility to recognize what's getting triggered and how to make sense of it. Because if I can feel the heal, if I can go in and make sense of my past already lived life, I will move that energy inside of me, which will create more space for me to be present and witness to a woman in front of me that is expressing as a little girl and not take it personal. The only way I do that is if I get to know the little boy in me. And a lot of people can be triggered here and afraid of this. Like, I don't want to do therapy and I don't want to do all this. I'm telling you, it may not be therapy, your modality, but there's something we can't avoid. There's no spiritual hack to get past this part. To be in a human body means we have to integrate our life. And if we don't, you don't graduate to higher levels of health, which creates the presence. Dan Siegel describes this in his work. We're going super nerdy here. Our level of health is determined based off of our capacity to integrate our already lived life. What that means is we have to have the strength and the courage to move towards relationship. Relationship is an ingredient that is required to be able to integrate. This is why reading more books or listening to podcasts isn't leading to new behaviors, isn't leading to better relationship with your partner. You actually have to integrate at the physiological level, which means I got to buck up, stop avoiding men's work, stop avoiding support, coaching, therapy, whatever your version is, breath work, I actually have to move towards relationship to start to process and integrate all the life that's getting poked and provoked in me. That's our responsibility as men. We can just avoid it and numb out and think everything that I'm saying is bullshit. But I promise you, what your life will then look like is numbing out, self-soothing through Netflix specials, through pornography, through doom scrolling, food addiction, substance abuse. All of those things are trying to replace the thing that you may not have realized yet, and it's you don't feel safe in your body. The only way to feel safe in your body is move towards someone who is safe, to hold space for your body, to let go of everything it's holding on to that leads to performance. Your performance is not going to set you free. Moving towards yourself in a relationship that can meet you in a way that you actually always needed, that is the only way to set yourself free. Once you do that, which my favorite way, the way that I believe is the most ancient way, is brotherhood, other men doing their work. When that happens, guess what? You now have what I call 1 inch of space. You can move towards your woman, hold space for her, and not feel so triggered because you've processed it all. You're processed all the things you're afraid of with other men who get it. Yeah, a pissed off woman, terrifying. She's not the one to process that with. It'll make her more upset. She'll feel more unsafe, and she will get more annoying. She will get more mean because she's looking for emotional safety. She's asking us men, women are asking us men to grow up. Remember, we need other men. And if you're interested, this is why I created something. I made it a low entry, super accessible thing. It's called The Initiated Man. Down in the show notes, there's a link to it. It's only $97 a month. 7 days are free. If you don't like it, go. If you love it, stay. You can leave any month. It's a monthly subscription. I've created something that I've seen men need the most, which is brotherhood, being guided into the processes and the principles of becoming an actual man who has capacity, who can be present, who can integrate his past, have safety with other men to be able to do that work. Learn the structures that need to be in place in the day-to-day life to feel the passion, the fire, the potency of what you are meant to feel in relationship to a woman. You are meant to be able, like I did in the podcast today, we are meant as men to feel our strength, our fire, our potency, and face a woman who is completely in chaos and mayhem and hold space for that without flinching. That's what we're meant to do. But if we can't do it, it means we didn't get it from our fathers. We didn't get it from the men around us. So I'm inviting you into it. If you feel called to it, click the link, take action, stop resisting this place, gain your power back. Be in a room with other men that are doing this. I'm not trying to sell you here, pitch something that you don't need. If you feel that this is a need that's been missing, it's only an invitation. Go down, click it, join. Going back to this piece. Women don't feel safe because we don't feel safe. It's hard to admit that. If we are men functioning from performance because we didn't get the safety we needed from our mother, role of mothers to create safety, if we didn't get that, then we will move to things that are safer from an underdeveloped brain that bring in a sensation of safety in the moment, but create long-lasting negative impact. What I'm talking about here is the soothing agents, vaping, porn, reading books incessantly, podcasts, getting more information in here. The information isn't going to set you free. Relationship will. Sometimes the more information we take in without true embodiment, which means practices, human connection, real life, if we're not doing that part, it actually weakens us. How many men can relate there? I wish I could see a show of hands. Let me know in the show notes. God, me too. I feel soft. I feel weak. I'm afraid to admit that. I have weaknesses. Doesn't mean I'm weak, but I have weaknesses because I didn't get the initiation I needed from my father. So I had to go out as a man and find it for myself so I could be sitting here speaking to you sharing from lived experience, the power that comes back online when we get met in the way that we always needed. We have to take our power back. If we don't feel it, we need to move into the container that creates it. Men are like generators. We have to like pull the cord and fire the thing up to get the energy moving. The step is moving towards a container where the intention is power, but also warmth, kindness. What I describe here in the work that I do as the initiated man is we want to create men that have strong backs, soft fronts, which means I have personal boundaries. I know who I am. I won't let anyone shake me off my truth. And I'm open, I'm receptive, and I'm listening, and I can feel my feelings. If we can do that, guess what? Feminine soften. Women relax. They start to let go the grief of having to spend so many years of their life holding it all together because there hasn't been a space holding them to feel the parts of them that are out of control inside. I want you to understand women a little bit more here. I know this is a longer one, but I think it's important. I don't want to overload you. I hope you're still with me. If you need to pause, go back, take notes, breathers, please do that. I'm just going at the pace that makes sense here. Women completely transform inside of themselves every single month. What I'm talking about is a period, or as I describe as what women describe as moon cycles. Women who are women call it a moon cycle. What happens in that period is something that's also expressed in nature. When a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, it doesn't just go from a caterpillar, grow some wings, and become a butterfly. This has been studied by scientists. What happens is that inside of the cocoon, the caterpillar completely dissolves into primordial goo. And then life itself in its great mystery takes the goo and starts to reconstruct atoms and cells. And then what starts to form is a completely new being. This is what happens inside of a woman every month. It's intense for them. It's kind of awe-striking when we really look at it. Men have perceived it from underdeveloped parts of a brain as crazy, terrifying, totally. But if you didn't get held from your mom and integrated and initiated by your father, you will see it as a problem, gross, and want to get away from it. If you've been initiated, you will hold that experience in reverence. You will be in awe of it. And you'll get curious of how can I create safety in a container around the woman during that time so she can have a death and a rebirth, knowing that if she feels held well in that, the gifts that she brings back in the rebirth is incredible. She'll actually give you as a man, and this has been my personal experience, when Courtney feels safe in that part of her month, I don't always hold it well, but if I hold it well, what happens is she ends up going and coming back with a part of herself that I haven't met yet. And she shares insight and downloads and reflections, not just about her, but about me, that help me see and experience more of my power and potential. And then what I get to do is I get to take that golden key she gave me and I get to go put it in the door of brotherhood. I open the door, and in the presence of other men, I get to integrate, work with whatever it is I discovered, accountability, all the things that help me become the man I just saw through her lens. This is what's called the feminine informing the masculine. There's an initiation we get to do for each other, which I'm going to do on a different episode or a different video. But for the sake of this one, women are longing for men to hold them in reverence. Practically, they want to feel safe. They want to be able to share their feelings without you trying to fix or solve them. If you can do that, they will melt. They will stop being so mean. They will stop your experience of them being annoying. That will stop, and they will actually start to appreciate you. By the time, and maybe I'll even share a link of this podcast. I'll upload it once it goes live. I think it's not live for another couple weeks, but you can go watch if you feel inspired to see what happens through your own eyes. By the end of this episode, they were crying in tears, radiating, and just in so much appreciation and asking me, could you just be here with us every day? This is what starts to happen when women feel safe. They want more. They respect and revere what we provide. You know how good that felt as a man to have spent over 10, 15 years of doing my own personal work, to be able to hold space like that because I've integrated my already lived life. I have so much more to do, but enough to offer that experience, to receive mirrors and reflections of my value, my power used in a safe way. This is the most incredible experience ever. This is what most men, if you're anything like me or any men that I've worked with over the years, you want that too. And there's a way to get it. So if you aren't able to do it and you can't integrate all the information you know about this, or if it is making sense, hop in the Initiated Man. This is the work that we do in there. This is a whole new culture, or this is a culture creating a whole new species of man. I'm not just going to give you more information. Maybe you can feel that even in this one video. I'm inviting a whole new way of being man so that you can experience the inner freedom you're longing for. Nothing's wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not bad. The dynamic that you're in is needing new information. Your responsibility is move towards the experience that creates the new information. If you do that, guess what? Inner peace. It's the best. Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.